I'm Brian Gall, Airport Director at the Flagstaff Airport. Just want to let everybody know we are having some intermittent internet issues out here with the weather. So if I do start to get slow or you can't hear or see me, please let me know in the chat or something, and I'll try turning off my camera and seeing if that helps a little bit. But I do have a quick presentation for you today. I just wanted to show some of the recent updates on the airport and share a little bit of background on the Flagstaff Pulliam Airport. And I'll be happy to take any questions at the end of that. So let me know in a second here if you can see my screen.
Got it.
Great. Oops. All right, so starting off with a little bit of history of the Flagstaff Airport. So Flagstaff Airport was constructed in 1948 for less than $50,000. We've been looking through some of the history documentation of that because this year happens to be our 75th anniversary. So we're pretty excited. The earliest record we could find of operations at the Flagstaff Airport were November 29th of 1948. That's the first FAA facilities directory record we found for it. So in just another 2 or 3 months here, we'll be celebrating that anniversary. And for that, $46,000 price tag, I think we're getting a pretty good return on our original investment. But I'll be showing a little bit of some of the changes that have happened since then and a little bit of information about the airport and its current operations model. So first, the airport is owned and operated by the city of Flagstaff. We're what they call a non-hub primary commercial service and general aviation airport. Essentially what that means is we're a commercial service airport, not to the same level of passenger service as somewhere like Sky Harbor, but we are part of a primary airport in the National Airspace System. And general aviation refers to those non-commercial aircraft. So the smaller private planes you might see in the air or base at Flagstaff Airport is what's called general aviation. That puts us in a little bit of a unique spot. Many commercial service airports like Sky Harbor or Dallas-Fort Worth, for example, don't really have a general aviation component. And many general aviation airports, things like Cottonwood or Williams, don't have that commercial air service. So we're kind of right in the middle. We have both that commercial operation and the private aircraft based here. Currently, we're served by American Airlines for our commercial service. We have direct flights to Phoenix and Dallas-Fort Worth daily. This summer, we've been sitting at about 4 flights a day, 3 to Phoenix and 1 to Dallas-Fort Worth. We did add 1 Phoenix flight this month, so we're 4 flights to Phoenix daily right now and 1 to Dallas-Fort Worth, and we're expecting to add another Dallas flight starting next month again. Our airfield elevation is 7,014 feet above sea level, making us one of the highest commercial service airports in the country. And we're the closest commercial service airport to both the Grand Canyon and Sedona. We do get about 100 inches of snow here annually. This year it was actually closer to 163. So you can see some of our snow removal equipment and de-icing activities on those pictures on the right. That makes us pretty unique among commercial service airports in Arizona. So people think of the airport, they often think of that commercial service as our primary use. And it's true, that's the exposure that most people have directly with the airport. But there's a lot of other things going on here that folks might not think about quite as often. So we have that airline, American Airlines, but we also have a robust air cargo operation. We have daily flights that are serving both FedEx and UPS through some of their subsidiary air service companies. So if you do receive packages that are shipped via airmail or that first day airmail, sometimes those will be coming through the Flagstaff Airport. We also have air rescue operation here with 2 different entities, one being the Arizona Department of Public Safety. Their Northern Arizona Rescue Helicopter is based here at the Flagstaff Airport. And also Guardian Medical, associated with Northern Arizona Healthcare, has their air ambulance business based at Flagstaff with about 6 helicopters and occasional fixed-wing medical evacuation helicopters based here. We also get a number of air charters. So with our facilities being somewhat bigger and longer runway than Sedona has, for most of the Northern Arizona region, if you want to bring in a large jet charter aircraft, we're the destination for that. So even folks that don't fly commercially might encounter Flagstaff through our airport. We also have flight instruction, general aviation, and frequent stopovers by our military partners. So that's on the air side of the fence. So basically everything within our secure perimeter fence. We also have a significant landside operation. So we have 6 rental car companies based at Flagstaff. We have a business park that's on airport property. We also have the Swift Travel Center, the Chevron station that is just down the street from the airport on airport property. Joy Cone, the ice cream cone manufacturer, is in our airport business park, and FedEx Ground has an operation here as well. On the right, you'll see that yellow highlighted area shows the catchment area. So that really defines the area where we're the best option, closest option for most residents to come to for commercial air service. So you can see all the way up to the Utah border, west, almost to Laughlin Bullhead, and fairly far east on I-40 as well. That's the area we primarily serve. So the airport is always growing and changing. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking both about air service, meaning our commercial air carrier development, and the facility itself. So there's a lot of text on this slide, but I'll give a brief summary to go over it. So the air service industry has seen some challenges in recent years. There's a pilot shortage that you might have heard about in the news. There's some headlights there on the right. The pilot shortage, a number of factors came into play simultaneously that really put us into the position where we are as an industry right now. First, in 2009, we had some new regulations that increased the number of flight hours that regional airline pilots, regional airlines being the ones like SkyWest that fly from Flagstaff, that require those pilots to have the same number of flight hours as the mainline commercial carriers. Before, it was a shorter limit for that. So that bumping it up made it harder for pilots to get from their initial flight training to the number of hours they needed to fly commercially. We've also seen a number of retirements. There's a mandatory retirement age in the airline industry. So as pilots near that mandatory retirement age, we're losing part of the workforce. And then when COVID started and air travel was put on hold, a lot of airlines let go or furloughed a lot of pilots who didn't come back into the workforce. So all those factors combined, and as soon as air travel kicked back up right after the pandemic, we've seen some challenges in those airlines building their staffing back up. So to react to that, the industry has done some things to keep the industry going as well as it can. The first of those is we're seeing fewer flights on larger aircraft. So you're seeing this push to bigger planes that are flying less frequently between cities. When I started in this industry, it wasn't uncommon to see 19-seat commercial aircraft at airports like Flagstaff or even smaller. Now we're served by 70-seat aircraft. And looking to expand that even to greater numbers, which taxes some of the infrastructure at airports. We're also seeing higher load factors, load factor being the number of paying passengers that board each airline. So our United Airlines service that served direct flights to Denver until last fall had an 88% load factor the last 6 months of operations, meaning 88% of the seats had paying customers in them. That's extraordinarily high by industry standards traditionally. So the fact that they discontinued that service, even with a number like that, shows that the industry is moving towards those more full planes, which we've probably experienced if you've flown any time recently. But airlines have also developed some pilot training programs to start bringing new pilots into the mix. Those take about 4 to 5 years for new pilots to be trained. So we're weathering the storm until those new pilots start their employment. So the airport is also undergoing some efforts to try to recruit additional air service. We attend regular conferences such as the Airport Roundtable Series and Jumpstart conferences where we meet with airlines and learn about what they're looking for in airports, what their business expectations are for the coming year. You can see some of the airlines that were at a recent conference we attended in Milwaukee this year. We did meet with 3 of those, which were American, to talk about additional routes, also with Allegiant and with Southwest. All of them basically said the same thing at this point, which is that they're interested in places like Flagstaff, but until they get their pilot shortage and equipment shortage settled, they're going to be holding off on any new service, but we are working to keep those relationships going. One of the ways we're doing that is through doing passenger demand analysis, which shows where people who are flying to or from Flagstaff are either going to as their ultimate destination or originating from, so we can show the demand for different destinations. We're also updating our air carrier incentive policy so that we can show, so that we can provide some financial incentives for new air carriers to come here. And we're going to be working on some airport infrastructure upgrades to accommodate those larger aircraft. And of course, we have our advertising campaigns encouraging everyone to fly local from Flagstaff Airport. So in terms of airport development itself, there's a few things I wanted to highlight today. One being our library. So Claire Harper, our communications manager, has worked with our library staff to find a way to offer up some of the books that are going out of circulation in the library system and offer them up to our passengers free of charge. So we have that in our passenger hold room, which is through TSA security. It has the graphic you see on the right there posted on top of it, along with a selection of books available for people to take if they need some reading material on their flight. They're also encouraged to leave a book if they have one that they're done reading. We do have some new shelving coming soon that's going to be a little bit larger and match our airport brand colors. So future photos to share with that, but we are sharing it on social media and it's been very popular so far. So thanks to the library for their support in helping us get that program started. Additionally, we've moved to a paid parking system. So traditionally parking at the airport was free, but we saw that even though it was free, it maybe wasn't always convenient, meaning you come to the airport and maybe not necessarily find a space because people who weren't using the airport were storing it, and because the existing lot hadn't been expanded in quite some time. So we added a new economy parking lot and moved to an airport paid parking system. Park Flagstaff, the same folks who do parking enforcement downtown, are helping us with enforcement and customer service. And airport staff are working to improve the reliability of the system, but it is working pretty well so far and started in July of this year. So parking rates are $6 a day for the economy lot, $8 a day for the terminal lot, with 1 free day per week. So $36 a week for the economy lot and $48 for the terminal lot. You can see a picture of some of our parking equipment there on the right. And here are the entry and exit lanes to our terminal lot. So this shows about half of the parking facilities we have here, the economy lot being the other one that we just added. We also received some grants through a COVID relief program through the Federal Aviation Administration to do some maintenance on the airport. One of those projects is Terminal Maintenance Phase 1. As part of that, we're repainting the exterior of the terminal, we're remodeling and doing some drywall repairs and carpeting to our airline offices as well as our TSA office. We're also going to be replacing the front entry doors of the terminal, so that work is ongoing. So pardon our construction and pardon our dust when you come to the airport, but we are going to end up with a better product afterward. We do have a number of other capital projects in the planning stages. One being a construction of a new snow removal equipment building. You saw the picture of that snow plow on the first or second slide. The airport does currently have about 10 pieces of snow removal equipment in our fleet. Right now, our storage facilities only hold about 4 or 5 of those. So the others are scattered around in hangars. Some of them have to be left outside, unfortunately. So we're getting a series of FAA grants to build this new snow removal building and expect that to open in about 2 years. We're also working on additional terminal maintenance, including hopefully some flooring, new light fixtures, paint, drywall, other things like that around the terminal building over the next year or so. We're conducting some airport maintenance activities. We recently did a seal coat on our runway. We're going to be refreshing our pavement markings across the airfield, so that'll be a fairly big effort this fall. And hopefully in the coming years, we'll be looking at reconstructing a portion of our taxiway and adding some LED taxiway edge lighting. And we're going to be relocating one of our taxiways to meet some new FAA geometric standards. So we do have a number of upcoming capital projects out here at the airport. Now, that's a pretty brief snapshot of a lot of our news going on, but if you're interested in what's going on at the airport outside of a presentation like this, we do have a new website that opened about 1.5 years ago. So our website is flagstaffaz.com. It does have information for travelers, for businesses that want to operate in the vicinity of the airport, as well for our general aviation private aircraft tenants. You can also find updated flight information, phone numbers for rental cars and other ground transportation options and things like that. We've also started our social media channels. So the airport does have Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and we have a newsletter that you can sign up for. So at the very bottom of that webpage I mentioned, if you're interested, you can sign up for our new monthly Flag in Flight newsletter. So that's a good place to keep up with goings on at the airport and keep you appraised of the new changes that are coming here. So that's the presentation I have for you today, and appreciate the time you give me to talk here. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Brian. Is there anybody who has any questions?
Question about the library. How long has it been operational?
Yeah, great question. I'd have to go back and look at my records. I believe the library's been in operation just shy of 1 year at this point. I think it was last fall that it opened for the first time.
Do you have any idea, and if you don't, Brian, that's fine, but do you have any gut feeling or idea if books are replenished by travelers as well? They take a book, they give a book.
Certainly not at the rate that they're taking. So it's a challenge for us to keep it stocked. The demand for the books is much higher than we've had the capacity to keep new ones on the shelf.
Yeah. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the question. It's really exciting. I think we're trying to look at some ways we can add some amenities to the terminal and also make the airport feel like a cozy and welcoming environment. And the library's been a great addition to that.
Yeah, it's neat.
Anyone else?
just along that line, besides books, magazines like readable magazines on an airplane, like
Great
National
work, thank you.
Geographic, things like that, is that part of the supply?
You know, I'd have to check with our communications manager, Claire Harper. She's the one who's been coordinating the library staff about what we can add to the library. Not sure if anybody else on the call today knows that offhand. I think that we've been trying to include a pretty diverse selection of reading materials, and I think some of that has been determined based on what comes out of circulation at the library. So I think in general, I would say we're open to any kind of things, including periodicals that people might want to add to that shelf. So if it's available, we're interested and we'll take it as long as it sort of meets the guidelines that Claire's added for making sure that we have a good selection and a diverse selection there.
To jump in really quickly, Brian, no, we don't have a whole lot of periodicals that we discard on a regular basis to supply to them. So it's mostly our fiction and nonfiction books. We've been going through a lot of heavy reading projects within the past year, and that's been helping to supply them.
Maybe sometimes if the friends, as we collect stuff throughout the year and the donations we get, somebody donates tons of magazines, which they often do, right? So
Sure do.
maybe that's possible to feed in.
I know we sent them a couple boxes of Arizona Highways, but that was a long time ago.
We get a lot of Arizona Highway and National Geographic.
But I haven't spoken to Claire in quite some time about the project, so I don't know where they are at this point.
Yeah, and some of that is we're waiting on the new shelving. So the shelving has been delivered, but we're waiting on some facilities assistance and getting it installed. So we've kind of been letting the stock dwindle as we get that new shiny bookshelf in place.
I have another quick question, if that's okay. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Way back when the airport terminal was being built, there was a lot of discussion, pro and con, because of cost and things, to have a conference room there. And there is one there, and I was just wondering, does it get used well?
Yeah, so we actually have a lot of interest in our conference room. We've actually had a challenge with some city requirements involving things like insurance for allowing outside parties to use it. For a number of years, we've actually let anybody who was in the community use it if it was not already reserved by city staff. We've had to dial that back a little bit because we have had more staff demand for it as the number of businesses at the airport have grown and the number of airport employees have grown. So for now, we're only using the airport upstairs conference room for reserved by airport staff, meaning both city staff at the airport and also our tenants, as well as city staff that might work in other facilities but need a larger conference room space than they have available to them. So it is generally available, but to those somewhat limited groups, and that's partially due to the amount of use it's seeing. So it is used almost daily by some large group.
Thank you.
I was curious about your parking. Since you instituted the paid parking, what would you say the percentage is of capacity? I mean, how much, like if I come to park at the airport, am I gonna find a parking spot, or are you ready?
You're definitely going to find a parking spot now. So if anybody traveled here before we moved to the paid parking system and you saw the challenges that we had with people parking in landscaping or parking along drive aisles, that was a big part of the push we had to move to the paid parking system. But the other portion of it was the opening of the economy parking lot. So the airport's original parking lot was about 385 parking spaces. Our new economy lot added another 415. So we more than doubled our parking capacity with the introduction of that lot, in addition to going to the paid system that, of course, changed the parking behavior of some folks who maybe weren't using the airport, but were using our parking lots. So now we see, I would say the two lots combined are sitting somewhere between 50 and 60% capacity, with a majority of those being in the terminal lot. So most of the back portion of the terminal lot is available on any given day, plus a subset of closer parking spaces, and about 2/3 of the economy parking lot is currently open. So some of that is because of our reduced flight numbers that we've seen this year compared to some previous summers. So as we see those flight numbers kick back up, I'm going to expect to see the number of vehicles in the lots kick back up as well. But as of now, we do have several hundred parking spaces available compared to not having any 6 or so months ago.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right, Brian, thank you so much.
Thank you for your time and for speaking to me today. I hope everyone has a great afternoon.
You too. All right. The next item on the agenda is for Nat and Charlie, and that's the Library Foundation and Friends update.
Want to go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Flip a coin.
I'll just do a quick review. We talked about it at this last meeting before we got into the normal sequence of an annual update each year about this time. But I'll do a quick review. The Flagstaff Library Foundation is a 501c3, and it was founded over a period of 1990 and 1991. And it was an offspring of the new library being built. The foundation board the foundation board distributes funds from the permanent endowment. The permanent endowment is managed by the Arizona Community Foundation. The board's other responsibility is to select donations for the permanent endowment. And that's basically our two main functions as a board, is to increase the endowment and then distribute funds from the endowment. But it's a permanent endowment, so when anybody puts money into it, it stays there, its value stays there, because the Arizona Community Foundation, like other organizations that operate an endowment, keep the value of the money as CPI changes and everything else changes. It keeps the value of the money there. And then the excess money, which is usually about 4%, that's the tradition, is then distributed again for the foundation to use as whatever the bylaws say. And our bylaws say that it's to enhance our library one way or another. It's not restricted to just projects, but it can include not buildings, but capital in one way or another, bookshelves and things like that. Right now, our endowment is around $475,000. It's a little bit more than that. And that allows us, at least over the last few years, to have $20,000 or so each year plus to distribute. And that brings us to how do we distribute it? The board doesn't sit here and say, oh, I think this go here and I think that should go here. No, the board goes through a process, and we're in the middle of that process right now. Roughly around August, the library director sends out a request for interest in funding special projects that couldn't be funded or would not be funded in general by the city. But that then goes, once those come in to the library director has this unique position where she knows where the money is coming from, where it's going from, and whether or not some of these requests are duplicate or are not needed because it's already funded. So it goes through that filter, and then it comes to the board. And then the board in September looks at those, and in October meeting, it's their annual meeting, they decide on how that money would be distributed. And as I say, the endowment is growing each year, and that money will always be coming in, and it provides funding for all kinds of very interesting programs, or shelves over in East Flagstaff, or I think we got not a fax machine, but some kind of machine for the office a few years back. But lots that goes to programs that the staff think, gee, this would be really nice, but we don't have a budget for it. So that's the big picture of the foundation. And I did mention that this year we will have $20,000 to $21,000 to distribute. We also on the board side, I'd like to welcome Corey Hartman, because our board has 3 fixed positions. One is a person from the city commission to represent on our board, be part of the decision making. One from the Friends. I guess that's just 2 that we have. 2. Yes.
To acquire, I think so too, yeah.
That's right. So the board is made up right now of 5 members, plus Corey and you, and we still have room for several more members on the board. So I'm just throwing that out too. And it would be nice to get, if you see our board, I think I'm the oldest, but not by much. And it would be nice to get, and Corey now represents the other end of the spectrum, thank goodness. And we could use some more young blood, so to speak, new ideas. So that's both overview and where we are right now.
How is the Library Foundation and the Friends related?
They're separate organizations, but they do the same thing in different ways. And ours is a permanent endowment, and we increase that and fund it. And I'll turn it over to Charlie, he can tell you exactly what that does.
So your funding comes from the interest that you guys make off the endowment,
That's right.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, for distribution.
And that comes from another organization.
No,
No, that's.
it's just managed by another organization, the
Okay.
Arizona Community Foundation.
Man,
And that is a, I don't know if it's $1 billion yet or not, but it's a multi-million-dollar organization that manages all kinds of small endowments around the state. And there's a section up here called Flagstaff Arizona Community Foundation. I'm not sure if that's the correct name, but there is a board, a sub-board, so to speak, up here that looks at the various, it also hands out money too, because they have their own pool of money.
Right.
But underneath that envelope are a number of our, like,
They do the
endowments,
investments.
and they do the investments, and they manage all of that. So our
Okay.
board doesn't have to make those
Right.
decisions, we just have to distribute.
Gotcha.
Good question.
Okay.
So Charlie Silver with Friends of the Library. Hello, everybody. And well, I was just sitting here listening to Nat, and I'm grinning away because you're right. What is the difference between the foundation and the Friends? Okay, lots of similar activities. And it's all toward this goal of providing funds to the library that are not normally funded by taxpayer dollars alone. And that's the Friends mission as well, and Nat alludes to that as well with the foundation. So I think if I need to characterize, your question about what's the difference between the foundation and the Friends.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Friends has the ability to operate a little bit more day-to-day needs and situations, and a little bit more nimble in the way we can respond maybe to special library requests that come mid-year, for example. But we also have a funding cycle, which I'm going to talk about. So the Friends of the Library also is a 501c3 nonprofit group that financially supports library services that are not fully supported by taxpayer dollars alone. Our ongoing fundraising activities include membership dues and the sale of gift items and books. The Friends of the Library also annually awards the Copper Quill Award to a local author. Okay, practically how do some of those things work? Right now, we're in the middle of our annual book sale, which is occurring at our on-site bookstore area in the main branch, in this main branch of the library. That annual book sale we offer to our members because the Friends is a membership organization as well. You can, as I mentioned here, part of our revenue stream are membership dues. At the beginning of that sale, we have a members only preview night. So that's one of the perks of being a member of the Friends of the Library, is that members only preview before it opens up to the public and all the vultures come in and everything happens. So the members get a preview look at what's going to be for sale before the public portion of the sale begins. We have the ongoing book sale, which is that bookstore area that's always going throughout the entire year. So that's perpetual book sale that goes on. We also have Amazon sales that we conduct also. So a lot of the books we get are through donations. We can get scabs of donations at some points in time. It's lean, it begins again, and rinse and repeat. So the Amazon sales are our opportunity, our effort to catch the books that have a little bit more value than what might be for sale in the book sale area itself. A little bit more value than $1 or $2, for example. We have a baseline of $12, I believe it's at this point. But anyway, books get donated, have a little bit more value to them, and we have this Amazon book sale arm where we sell them. Whereas previously, during the annual book sale and also during the ongoing book sale, we would have, I'll call them booksellers, we would have booksellers, people coming in here constantly with their scanners, scanning all of our books by their barcode, and trying to figure out if they had more value to them. Buying them at $1 or $2 a piece, and then going out and reselling them for whatever. So we're trying to cut away that middle person area, right? And get some more value ourselves directly. All right, the Copper Quill Award is awarded and is presented, maybe not presented, but it's awarded annually to a local author and a body of work, typically that focuses on Flagstaff or has some connection to Northern Arizona in this area. The Copper Quill is kind of unique in that previous Copper Quill winners nominate and vote on the next Copper Quill winner. So it's an award given by past Copper Quill winners, an award from authors to future authors. It's really kind of neat. And the Friends of the Library just manages that process for them. Heard some cats, right? Has everybody made their nominations, and we facilitate that process. We hold a volunteer event, usually annually. Sometimes it's every couple of years, but a volunteer event. The last one we had was an event of both Friends volunteers and library volunteers as well as a combined event. So the library itself has their own group of volunteers, the Friends of the Library. We have our own group of volunteers. Yeah, they may mix and match, but the Friends has their volunteers, and the foundation does not have volunteers at the moment.
It's the board that does the work.
Yeah, the Friends board doesn't do anything, you're right.
No, I didn't say that.
I know. I mentioned our revenue streams are the membership dues, also merchandise for sale that we have in the front of the library that maybe you've seen on your way in and out of here. And it all culminates in this annual funding process that Matt was describing. It's annual funding that financially supports library programs again. And this past funding year, we were able to award about over $23,000 to library departments that go through that vetting process, that filter that Matt talked about, same process.
Wait a minute, is it two different? You get requests from the library for your funds, and then you get separate list for you guys?
Yes, that's why the library director is so important and other folks are so important in seeing, oh, what's overlap here? Oh, look, the foundation got a similar award here. Do you want to support a portion of it or none at all or things like that? But yes, you're right. Mm-hmm. So there's coordination. So yeah, typically somebody is going to be identified. I'll say this, trying to double dip, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Linda's in charge of she knows what
Yeah.
your list is and what your list is.
Library admin, Starla does, etc.
And these are being done at 2 different times of the year,
Okay.
also the requests.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. Mm-hmm.
And yours is more of a, like, it could be an ad hoc thing, like, oh my gosh, the printer broke, we need a new printer in the middle of the year. or
We don't
something.
have the ability to address that, yes. Yeah,
Right.
so that's all I had,
All right.
also.
Let me add one thing. The two real basic differences as far as the finances are concerned, one's an endowment and the other is a pass-through. As soon as they make the money, it's available and they will spend it. I don't know how your bank account is, whether you keep a certain level in your bank, but whatever in the bank, they spend and then they try to replenish it. Whereas ours goes to the endowment, gets invested, and forever and ever, that amount of money.
Right, once a year, you guys decide.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So one's an endowment, one's a pass-through, basically. And just thinking about it, so that's $45,000 a year
That's what I was thinking.
that are going to the library. I don't know, our board does not limit it to just the Flagstaff.
Important point, this is including the affiliates as well. The funding awards are made to our affiliates as well.
And are you
Yes,
the president or whatever the?
Yeah, board president of the Friends, right.
And our board can also, is not limited to just city residents. It can be a county resident too. So,
So you would serve the affiliates as well,
yes, we do.
affiliate
We do.
libraries as well, right? To the city,
To the city's benefit.
Forest Lakes, that kind of thing.
And Grand Canyon in the past, but we haven't received much from Grand Canyon recently. Yeah, so it's really a neat thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have a lot of volunteers, so that brings people into the library from a different point of view. I'm thinking maybe we should get some volunteers.
See?
We do need some new young board members, but I mean, maybe volunteers, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I should say, I think you're right. It's in our bylaws, the process we do, so we're not really able to say.
Do those things midstream.
Yeah,
or-
right.
or
Yeah.
Kind of out of cycle.
Right,
right. Uh-huh.
But I need to look at that because we do keep a fairly large bank account, about $40,000 or so. And the reason for that is that if investments are not as good as some time past, we have some money that we can use for that. And the other thing is there's a sequence. So we get the request for $20,000, but 6 months later, we get the $20,000 from the endowment. So what we've done is build up to $40,000, just using rough numbers, so that we can pay that immediately to the library when they need it. And then
Get replenished.
it gets replenished, but we have that $20,000 still in the bank. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you both for all of your work with both of those groups. And, okay, so now moving on, I don't know who has this item, the 24/7 Wi-Fi access?
I have that item, Frank.
Okay, go for it.
And I also just had one item to add to the conversation that just ended. Typically, libraries will have a foundation to handle large gifts. So, planned giving, bequests, things like that. That's another reason to have a foundation separate from a friends group. Because usually the friends group is, as Nat and Charlie mentioned, more of a pass through. They raise funds, they spend most of the funds. So that's just another distinction and another reason to have a foundation. If someone wants to leave a large sum of money to the library, we're all set up to handle that.
May I jump in on that? That reminds me that one couple has already put into their will a $300,000 commitment. That one I'm sure of, and there's another one that's earlier that I haven't heard much about, was $200,000. And that was several library directors away. And so, you know, we have no way of tracking whether it is. We've got a letter saying they were planning to do that, but, so that's a lot of money that will eventually come our direction. At least the $300,000 I know will come in our direction.
And then I will move on into what you asked me to speak about, Frank, which is the 24/7 Wi-Fi access. So I wanted to bring up to the board that in a couple of conversations that Richard and I have been in with law enforcement officials, once over at Coconino Community College talking about East Flagstaff, and another time talking with people downtown about the police aids. It's been brought up a couple of times that at least some law enforcement officials feel that the 24/7 Wi-Fi that the library offers could be contributing to the problems that we're seeing later at night. We don't have to decide anything about that at this point anyway. But I wanted to bring it up to the board so you have time to kind of think about that, whether or not that's something we should continue to offer. I do know that during COVID, almost every library in the country started offering 24/7 Wi-Fi. And so I know that there's a certain expectation of people as they're traveling through the country and things like that, that the libraries will offer this. So I want to bring it up and just get thoughts from the board. Like I said, we don't really have to act on that right now, but I wanted to bring it up now before it becomes a decision we have to make possibly at some point.
So what, Linda, is okay, first, like the 24/7, is that like standing outside the building in the parking lot? What is the issue with the police, like the loitering, whatever?
Yeah, they think it's drawing people that are then engaging in illegal activities.
So there's not a problem like sitting out there on the new patio after hours and using the Wi-Fi? They don't care about that?
Well, as long as they're within open hours of the new patio, which of course aren't posted yet, but we are going to have hours that it is closed.
Okay, and so what, like, if it is a problem, then are you thinking like, it's all, like when the library closes and the Wi-Fi is turned off?
That's a possibility. I know that there are people in our community, and one specifically that comes to mind for me is my daughter's working as a traveler up at the hospital. And I know that the shifts that some of those people at the hospital work, that they might need access at very odd hours. Also, somebody who experiences some kind of program or problem while they're traveling and needs good access to Wi-Fi to arrange for some kind of services to their car or whatever it is. So I know there are good reasons to continue to offer it, and those would just have to, I guess, kind of be weighed against, is it causing a lot of problems?
How do they know, like, I haven't used the Wi-Fi here before, but how would you know the password if you're like traveling through on vacation?
There is no password.
Oh, there's no password. Yes. I see. So they can just drive up like out on the street and it reaches a certain point?
Yes, basically, it extends for this location well within our parking lot, which is very much intended. We have a booster there specifically, as Linda mentioned, for COVID, making sure that people who needed that internet access while we were shut down would be able to, avail themselves of that. But it also goes around the building also towards, our sick grief side, which is causing a lot of other issues that we're having to navigate alongside community development for the city, which I can speak to more, but I'll hand back over to Linda.
Is there data related to this issue of when problems are occurring, and then maybe how much usage you're seeing during off hours?
I don't know that there is exact data. I think more it's just that it's something that is attractive to people to access, and so then you are bringing to people outside the buildings after hours because they're attracted to using the Wi-Fi.
Mhm.
Just to jump in really quickly, I do wish our IT manager was on this discussion because he knows that better than anybody. However, I do know that we have many people who will use the Wi-Fi from midnight to 7 o'clock in the morning every single night. And each time you connect to it, your personal device will have a unique, identifier, and very consistently, it's the same people every night. So we do know that it does get used. Unfortunately, sometimes that's kind of the problem. It's the same people over and over again, maybe not using the library for its intended purpose, but availing themselves of our services while doing other things that they probably should not be, including camping on library grounds, or our new plaza has, had some issues late at night with individuals, consuming alcohol and other properties that is against city code, basically.
Right.
And that's we're trying to juggle providing effective service, but within what we're supposed to.
I wonder what other businesses do, like say Starbucks. I mean,
McDonald's.
right, where you could like sit outside at the table after they close, and what do they do?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they turn theirs off at night, but it may be worth looking into.
Or other libraries around the country for that matter. And most libraries, like you say, are offering these services, are offering Wi-Fi service 24/7,
And it is not uncommon to see libraries, and I can speak to the libraries that I most recently worked with. It is not uncommon to see people sitting in their car outside of the library during non-library hours because they need that access to the internet. And I guess one of the big differences between us and Starbucks is that, really to be at Starbucks, you're expected to be buying a really expensive latte or something, whereas we're kind of the access for people who just don't have it. They don't have money to buy a latte and go use Starbucks. So. Thank you for all of the thoughts on that. And I think that, Richard, we can probably get together some data and get some information from Mark if you all would like to have a little more information about how and when it's being used.
Yeah, that might be valuable. Okay. Any other discussion on that particular topic? All right. The next item on the agenda is the partnering with the city IT and sustainability to distribute reclaimed laptops to community members.
Yeah, thank you. That's my item.
Okay.
I don't know if all of you know, I work for city IT. And the way this came about is my laptop is getting fairly old because I've worked for the city now 7 years. And I found out that the only option for my laptop is either I buy it back, which I don't really need a laptop, or it gets recycled. And that's the only two options we currently have. And, you know, I think we all agree, I hope, that reuse is a better option than recycle. And so I talked to my upper management and I talked to sustainability, and they're both approve of, you know, me trying to get this off the ground. They've tried in the past, but the cost to re-image a laptop, the time for IT to do that was prohibitive. And so that's why it's been abandoned in the past. That process is getting easier now with Dell laptops. You could do it by connecting to a website. So I opened that subject up again, and I just wanted to gauge the board and the library's interest in helping with the distribution. We can handle the side where we can hand you a functioning laptop. Just wondered, because I know even reading your board meeting, your report, you talk about all the items that reference is loaning out. You know, I think you actually listed a sewing machine, a radar cutter, tennis rackets, and I didn't see how a laptop room really would add too much to that distribution in reference. So just wanted to know if y'all were interested and would handle the distribution side of it. I'm asking lots of other partners as well. Our water department does that kind of distribution, not really in electronics, but they have kind of that base of knowledge, as well as housing. That was another one of my ideas, because they deal with a lot of lower income public that might benefit from a donated laptop. So yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up. But schools as well, that was another option I was going to explore. So just wanted to know if I had thumbs up from library, or if you want to talk to me later, that's fine, but that's why I wanted to bring it up.
Beth, I think I would be hesitant to respond to that without first talking to Mark, just in terms of his resources for repairing and handling any issues that would come up with having older laptops like that. But we could certainly put that on an upcoming agenda and make sure that we have Mark here to weigh in on that.
Yeah, and I did wonder what you all do with your laptops, because I assume you distribute laptops to staff as well. And I wondered if there was something that you were doing similar, or if it was a recycle just like the city does.
I could jump in really quickly. So we have different levels of laptops or other information technology access, devices that we utilize. So in general, for staff, there are a few laptops that are available, but most staff members do not have access to one. They have a full desktop that they use. Now that could change, and again, as Linda pointed out, I really wish Mark was here because he knows that better. Moving forward, I know it's in our plans to have our staff computers and our public access computers swapped out with new ones because they're kind of hitting their end of life date. But even that aside, we do offer laptops for in-house use for patrons to check out. They're behind the reference desks. And then we also have a few Chromebooks for them to check out as a part of our Library of Things initiative. Unfortunately with those, they're also tied to a mobile hotspot, and we found that once we lent those out, a lot of people just don't want to give them back. So that has been a bit of a challenge that our IT staff has been working through also. Mark would be the one who would know best about whether or not that would be something that we could pursue, and depending on if they are hitting their end of life, dates, whether he even wants to pursue that anyway. But that just gives a little bit more background on what we currently have.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks for the information there. Anybody have any comments, questions about that topic? Hearing none, we will move on to the action item on our agenda, and that is the strategic plan with the vision, mission, core values. And Linda, that's back to you.
Yes, I'm going to see if I can share my screen here. And once I do, do you all see a PowerPoint presentation now?
No.
No. Okay. Let's see.
Linda, I have it ready if you want me to just share my screen.
Oh, thank goodness I gave you the backup copy. I was afraid this might happen.
Yeah, let me just share the screen. Hold on.
Thank you. Thank you, Starla. Can you go down to the bottom of the screen there and just hit start on the presentation?
Wow, slideshow did all that, huh?
Yeah,
Thank you.
There it is. Yeah.
Thank
there it
you.
is.
yeah.
Perfect. That's perfect. So I have mentioned a few times in this meeting that we were doing some work and including all staff in this work at looking at a new vision, mission, and some core values. And those are all a prelude to then starting work on the new strategic plan. So I wanted to run you through a little bit of the work that we've been through. Starla, if we go to the next slide, you can see the dots pasted next to the words on these photos I have. So this is from the very first meeting where I believe I described to you before, but in case you don't remember, staff watched a video by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. And so in an all staff meeting, we had people brainstorm the why of having a library. You know, why do we do all of this? And so some of the words that came up in that brainstorming session, well, all of the words that came up are shown in those posters. And then staff each were given dots to vote on which they thought were the most important words in describing the library why, the why of library services here at this library. So the next step was to take those words and incorporate them into a vision statement. So you can see below with the 3 bullet points, we have 3 vision statement candidates there. And the first one is very general and doesn't have a lot of words. The middle one has many of the words, but not everything that got a lot of votes or got the most votes. And then the last one tries to kind of include all of the words that received many votes from staff. So those were the 3 potential candidates for a vision statement. And I'm going to show you at the end what the results were, but for now, I just kind of want to walk through the process. So let's go to the next slide, Starla. So then the next item that we worked on was developing core values. And this was done in a longer session with a staff committee that was comprised of staff from all representatives from different locations, different levels of the organization, different positions. And so these folks did some study on what core values are. I had a presentation that talked about core values and how organizations work to develop those. And so then in small groups, they came up with some core values for later consideration by all staff. And so to the left, you see that the task force, their top 5 after all of the group work were the words you see to the left there. And then other ideas that came up but didn't quite make the top 5 are to the right. So let's go ahead and move to the next slide, Starla. Thank you. The next thing that this committee did, this representative committee, was we went through some instruction on how mission statements are put together, what types of components they're comprised of. And so again, in small groups, the groups came up with some potential mission statements. And those first, I think 6 or so came from that group work. And then as we came to a close of that work, Mark Caesar actually had the idea. He said, you know, so many of these have a great piece or two. Maybe we should put some of those together in some, I called them mashups. So Mark developed one of those and I developed one of those, so that then when we went to the all staff meeting, these were the choices, the mashups and all of the others that staff would discuss and vote on. So let's move to the next slide. And then the resulting document, after staff did their votes and, oh, I'm missing a slide. That's probably in mine and not the one I gave you, Starla, but there was a slide that showed all of the staff votes and staff and all of the things written out. But anyway, in conclusion, these were the vision, mission, and core values that were voted on. You might notice that the core values are a little different. All at the all staff meeting, there was some discussion of the word fairness versus the word equity, and so we ended up switching that out from fairness to equity, and also adding the word connection. So these are the final result, and would love to hear board's thoughts on the results, the process. Any thoughts from anybody?
I really thought the process was great and it's inspiring. It made me think of, especially watching Simon's Next Why, and then having people come up with the words that they wanted to use as part of the vision statement. To me, that seemed like a great collaborative way to approach what can be a really overwhelming task and hard to get people aligned. You know, there can be a lot of stuff going on, and that was really, really nicely directed, I thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
I like the final, you know, at the end, the last slide, the way you put all of those ideas together and, like you said, kind of mashed them together, came up with a vision and the mission. That sounds really good.
Well, it seemed like a thorough process, and it looks really nice.
This is the first time for this.
We did one a little bit ago, but I'm not sure off the top of my head when.
Is that the final that goes on the website or wherever?
Yeah, this is the final. I mean, obviously, as the board, if you had input, if there were things you objected to or wanted us to reconsider, we could certainly do that. But yeah, the work the work with all staff is done on this part of it. And we had great discussions and just insights from people that had really thought about things. I think it was so nice to see that process. And I had a number of people talking to me either on email or catching me in the hall and saying that they had really enjoyed being involved. So I think it was really good that we were able to involve as many people as wanted to be involved. I mean, some people might have, run screaming away because they didn't want to have those kinds of long meetings, but for the most part, we had a lot of input and a lot of participation.
That's good. That's exactly what you want. Good job. Yeah.
Yep, it looks good. And when I think about the library and the mission just in my head, I don't think you could have hit it much better than that. All right, any other comments, questions on that process? All right, thank you, Linda. And then Corey, you had a foundation.
Real quickly, Frank, sorry.
Okay.
Linda, was
That's
this
right.
listed as an action item because you wanted board
Oh, that's right.
approval?
That's right.
Or is there a reason it was listed as an action item instead of a discussion item?
It could have gone under either. I don't think the
Okay.
board has to do anything specific, but
Okay.
it could have been an action item. I mean, if board members wanted us to relook at something, but I'm not really hearing that.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure we didn't miss a vote if we needed one.
Yeah. Since it's listed under action items, I'm wondering if, for posterity's sake, if we should just take a vote, even if it is sort of informal, to make sure that it goes on record that the board approved the mission statement as presented. So if I could get somebody to make a motion to accept.
I move that we accept the vision and mission and core values as presented by Linda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any nays in the group? Okay, so that carries, and that is the vision and mission statement. And I just wanted to do that to make sure we had that on record if anybody ever asked the question in the future. All right, and then Corey, you had a foundation update?
Well, thank you. Not really, because Nat is here today.
Okay.
But there were a couple of things that, or one thing in particular, I thought that you all would like to hear that came up in the last meeting, and that was a thank you to Starla and the staff for doing a lot of the donor spreadsheet and sending out request letters and thank you letters, the IRS and PayPal acknowledgements. That all falls on the staff, and they expressed a lot of gratitude for that work. So I could pass that along. And also that everybody liked the ability to get to the foundation's website using the new library website platform there at the bottom under Get Involved. But I think Nat covered all the good stuff, all the other good stuff.
Perfect. And yes, definitely kudos to Starla and those that were acknowledged for all of their hard work all of the time. And it is good to have that on the website, because it is a team effort to keep the library in our community as high a quality as it is. It's an outstanding library, and we need to keep that moving forward. All right. So our agenda for future meetings, we have the IT. Whoop, am I hearing something?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And so the agenda for the next one is the County IT and Collection Management Services. So Mark and Amelia will be here next time. It sounded like maybe Starla, we need to add to revisit the 24/7 Wi-Fi access to that agenda in the future. And then our next board meeting is on October 12th. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Okay, hearing none, I will call for a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Okay. All right. And with that, I think we are adjourned, and you'll be getting communication on the October 12th meeting before that meeting. And we'll see you all then. Hope you're all, everything goes well for you and you're safe and happy and all of those things between now and then. Thank you all for participating.
Thanks, Frank.
You
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
You guys meet every month.
Except for
Second Thursday.
December and July.
Yeah.